back to Crown Chats and for another mystery special. I'm thrilled to welcome today's guest. She is the co-host of one of my favorite and one of the leading Hallmark podcasts, Hallmark Mysteries and More, and she is an honest reviewer of all things Hallmark Channel. Please join me in welcoming Andrea!
Hello. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, Haley, and get to chat with you again.
I know. I love anytime we get to connect, and of course, talking Hallmark about anything. So that's wonderful. I'm excited to have you on Crown Chats. You had me on your guys' podcast just over a year ago. You must have given me the bug or something, because now all of a sudden you're on mine. It's come full circle.
I love it so much. And podcasting is so fun. I mean, I have 2 of them now, so I'm like, let's go.
That's right. That's right. So what made you fall in love with Hallmark? And what do the movies mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, the first Hallmark movie was a Christmas movie with Candace Cameron Bure and Tom Arnold, which I think is like the mistletoe mystery, something with that. No, it's not a mystery, but mistletoe something. Mistletoe and Moonlight, I think. That was my very first one. And it was at my parents' house and it was over Christmas. And I just remember being like, oh, Mom, you're watching this. Those are so silly. And then I sat down and watched it with her. I was like, oh, this is kind of entertaining. And then they started coming out with mysteries, I think, a year or so later. And so for me, mysteries have always been my favorite kind of outlet. And so that's kind of the one I've always gravitated towards. I usually love the mysteries. Garage Sale, back when they started those in like the month of August, when they had every single Sunday a new mystery with Garage Sale. That was my favorite, because August is often a month where you're like, what have I got going on? You know, it can be kind of the dog days of summer and you're like, something to look forward to. And then, of course, I actually liked the Aurora Tea Garden, the originals. And so I still will throw those on, and, you know, Gourmet Detective. I mean, some of those classics that if you're new to Hallmark, you might not have, you know, seen some of them. And that's one of the reasons I think Eric and I like to review some of the older ones too, because some people are like, oh, I've never even heard of those, or, you know, they're on Hallmark Plus now, and it's so easy to go back into like Emma Fielding, which I know a lot of people haven't seen, that Hallmark doesn't always air on their channel. So for me, that's kind of my love, is the mysteries in that wheelhouse.
So you know the ingredients for a great movie and a great mystery. I love that you're always referencing old detective characters and mystery series. What would you say makes for a great Hallmark mystery?
Okay, so for me, the Hallmark, I think, would be the cozy settings. Like, I like mystery, but, you know, when I first started watching these, I was, you know, still single, living in an apartment. And so I like mystery, and always, you know, Boxcar Children, Nancy Drew growing up, reading those. But I don't like over the top. Like, I didn't like Goosebumps and R.L. Stine. And so for me, Hallmark hits that spot where I can watch them. They're not scary. I can't go to sleep at night because now I'm terrified of something happening. Like, I couldn't watch Dateline or 2020, you know, when I lived alone, because I was like, this is too terrifying. So for me, that was kind of the gateway into those Hallmark. And so for me, that's what they do well. And a good detective and kind of a good series, I guess. I'm a big settings person. And so I love any of the small cozy town, like, again, the original, like Hannah Swenson's The Murder She Baked, that cozy Minnesota small town. Loved that. I love the coastal settings. And I think some of that is because of maybe my love of Murder, She Wrote, but the Cabot Cove. And so I also don't mind a little coastal feel to it, which we were just reviewing the Fixer Upper ones, and that's got like that coastal feel. So I enjoy that. And then as far as the leads, most of the leads I really have enjoyed for the mysteries, and that there's one that we just recently reviewed that I realized I have never not liked 2 of the leads before. And so this one of the mysteries that just came out, I realized that makes a big deal for me. And that's probably also why I like the mysteries, is they have the strong leads. They have characters. They can carry some scenes if need be. Because in mysteries, you're not going to get a ton of supporting casts that are repeats. It's just not the nature of how they're built. And so you need to buy into the main characters. And if you don't have that connection to them, it's hard to get invested, I think, into the movie overall.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. And I never really honestly thought about that point before, of how strong the lead has to be, especially to carry a series. Like, it's one thing, because you as the viewer are now investing not just in one movie for, 72 minutes or whatever they end up being,
a whole series. And I'm someone, I barely can stay hooked on a TV series, let alone a movie series in that sense. So it has to be someone that can really bring the story full circle beyond a one movie. Normally it's a three movie, but sometimes it's six and beyond. So that does make a huge difference.
So you're the expert. What made you want to take part in a podcast? And more so, how do you put up with Eric?
Great questions. Well, Eric actually originally asked me to do this podcast, and he's like, "Hey, you love mysteries, and you're one of the people I would love to have on this podcast." And I said, I was pregnant at the time with my second, and I'm like, "No, not a great time." I've purposely, because I also run my own business, and so I'm like, I've pre-recorded all of my own podcasts for my business, and I've got everything set for a true maternity leave, which is hard to do when you have your own business. And so I'm like, I don't want to say yes and then regret that and then have to do some work. I really want to try to rest for 3 months. And so, he did it with Sydney, and then Sydney was pregnant, and then she said the same of like, I can't do this now. And so he asked me, he's like, okay, now that your son is older, will you say yes? And so I said, fine, I will say yes. Having listened to him in Sydney, I was like, I kind of knew what I was stepping into then of like, all right, Eric can be a handful, but I enjoy our banter. We kind of, for the most part, have similar-ish takes, but depends on what it is as we're going on. Originally, I thought we were going to just always have the same opinion. But now as we're recording, we are quickly realizing we don't always, which makes a better podcast anyway, to have differing views. And so I mostly just, you have to placate a little and just play to his ego. I know you're listening to this, Eric.
No, we love him. And yeah, your guys' dynamic, I love. You're one of my favorite podcasts. And a lot of it is, I don't even honestly care what you're talking about. You could be like reading your grocery list and just talking about which items and ingredients you both like or dislike. And you just both bring something really unique to it. So as an avid Hallmark fan myself, I always appreciate your guys' fresh takes that you not only review, and again, honestly review, because you're not afraid to sit there and say, hey, I don't like this, or maybe this wasn't my favorite, or here are some options where there are better directions that this could go. Because, some people, if they like something, they don't want to ever say anything negative. And so I always appreciate that you guys are very honest with that, because we have to be. If we want to have the best product out there, we have to have honest feedback. So I truly, truly respect that about the both of you, that you're not afraid to do that. So,
and it's not easy. That part is not easy. I think for either Eric or I, it's always the worst when you're like, oh, I don't like something. It's easier if you know that, like this last one. So like Mystery Island, for example, I knew going in, this is just not my jam. And then watching it, still not my jam. But I knew at least I have Eric who probably is going to enjoy it. That makes it a little bit easier as well, because then you can see some people are going to side with him and say, yep, one of the great mysteries. Whereas others are going to be like, I'm kind of with Andrea on this one. It's not my favorite. So that makes it a little bit easier if like they probably are going to have this viewpoint. It's harder if you both don't like it, which is, I think, only really happened once. I think, like, really didn't like it. That is the harder, because then you don't want to bash, but like, how do you tiptoe and find kind of a sweet spot around stuff like that?
And that brings us to our final segment, which I call a little crown, which is simply a rapid fire response. I'm going to give you a topic, and you're going to give me the first answer that comes to mind.
What is your all-time favorite mystery series or detective character? It does not have to be Hallmark.
Okay, then Murder, She Wrote. Hands down. I mean, if it doesn't have to be Hallmark, it's got to be Murder, She Wrote. Angela Lansbury as Jessica Fletcher. That would be my top pick 10 out of 10 times. I love that show. I mean, I was just watching it over the weekend. It's one of just my go-to, like, rainy day or cold day, and throw on that, and I love it. And then as far as Hallmark, I would probably say, I'm gonna have to say Garage Sale still. I just really love the garage sales, and there's so many, so that's also one where you can throw on any of them and I will be entertained.
Putting a little twist on that, if Hallmark brought back Murder, She Wrote, who would you pick as the lead?
Ooh, does it have to be a current Hallmark star?
No, it's your show, your casting.
The first person that came to mind, actually, before I even asked that, was Erin Cahill. I love her. And so I feel like she would be great. And having seen her just a little bit on Mystery 101, I think she would be a good Jessica Fletcher for sure.
If you could be in a Hallmark mystery, who would you cast as your sidekick?
Ooh, a John Brotherton.
Love interest sidekick.
You know, we want to go that angle.
It's some good eye candy, and he's a good actor, so it all works.
If you could enter into the world of any Hallmark movie, which would it be?
Mm. Ooh, gosh, I might do Haunted Harmony because the Ireland setting. I mean, I think that was gorgeous. I love the little cottages. I mean, anytime the movie's in Ireland, it's usually a win for me, even if the movie isn't that great, just because I love the Ireland setting. So I think that would be it.
If there could be a crossover movie between any of the two Hallmark mystery series, which would you choose?
I feel like a gourmet for sure. And then blend that maybe with the new Aurora. I think that would be kind of an interesting like dynamic there with some strong leads. So, I mean, strong leads across the board. So I think that would be kind of a fun. And there's age difference. So you have stuff that you can play with.
And lastly, a favorite charity or organization you want to give a shout out to that holds a place in your heart.
I mean, really for me, probably like Special Olympics, Minnesota, just because sports are also a big thing for me and I have volunteered over there before. And so I would say that would be my shout out.
And that wraps us up. Thank you so much for your time and for being here. I truly respect and appreciate both you and Eric and your honest feedback about all of the Hallmark Channel and Hallmark mystery movies. The two of you were greatly a part of my inspiration to be out here as well. So therefore, we don't want it to be a mystery. We need people to be able to find you. So where can people follow Andrea and Hallmark Mysteries and more to keep up with all of your fabulous commentary?
Yes, as I have to look up my Instagram handle every time. Hallmark Channel movies. You would think I would remember it, but no, I don't. Somehow I snagged that Instagram handle. I don't know how. So, and then if you want health and wellness, Seasonal Andrea is my personal account. So,
And that wraps us up on another episode of Crown Chats. Thank you for joining me for the Mystery Week with our fabulous guests. And again, we don't want to miss any more fun of anybody coming in the future. So make sure you like and subscribe to this YouTube channel and follow me, Haley, at Crown the Halls on Instagram. And don't forget to swing by the Dressing Festive shop for the Crown the Halls and Crown Chats merch and be styling and rocking those all year long. You can find the link for that in the bio of this episode as well as in my Instagram bio. So until next time, wear your crown. Your crown may tilt, may it never fall, but you are beautiful and you are strong.